Welcome to the Learn True Health podcast. I'm your host, Ashley James. This is episode 191. Hello, True Health Seeker, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Today is a continuation of a series that I'm doing with Michael Weinberger, who's the creator of the app A Plan for Living. I've had him on the show several times. If you haven't heard his interviews, I highly recommend going back. You can search all of his interviews by going to learntruehealth.com and search Michael or Michael Weinberger in the search bar there. We decided to get together and have a series of conversations. He has so much to share. He has so much value to deliver to you that I just love speaking with him and love hearing his stories. I wanted to sit down with him and create several small segments. And these segments he's actually also going to use in his app to help people. I was so intrigued by Michael Weinberger when I first had him on the show, and again when I had him on the show the second time, that he has created such a powerful app that allows people, whether they're going through hard times of their life, whether they're dealing with depression, anxiety, bipolar, whatever emotional issues, or maybe just a high level of stress, or fights with their spouse or with their friends. If you're going through any kind of emotional issue and you're finding yourself that you're not as happy as you really want to be, I highly recommend checking out Michael Weinberger's app, A Plan for Living. In today's mini interview, we talk about what this app ended up creating in his life as a result of just taking 5 minutes every morning, what ended up happening. And it's absolutely amazing. The reason why I'm so passionate about bringing you this information is that I see that there's so much value here in improving your life. Health is not just physical health. Emotional health is so important. If we don't have emotional health, if we don't have enough joy and love and vitality and connection and relation in our life, that affects us on a physical level and a mental level. Our life can fall apart just because we don't have enough joy or happiness or fulfillment or passion in our life. And that's why I'm so excited about Michael Weinberger being here today and sharing this information. So enjoy today's conversation with Michael Weinberger. And please check out his app, A Plan for Living.
I have a story I'd love to tell you.
All right.
So I was working with an employee who gets extremely defensive and frustrated with client behavior. And he came to me and said, the biggest lesson he's learned in working for me is the fact that I believe, or I know that I don't control what happens to me, but I control how I react. And the realization was that the quality of life is based on how you react, not what happens to you. And so whenever I go into a client situation where I'm unclear or not knowing exactly how to handle it, I really focus on what I'm able to control. And that control has been learned through the practice of gratitude and through the practice of spirituality. And what I mean by that is this: when I realize how many things I'm grateful for, I start to kind of feel my own self-worth increase. And I remind myself before I go into difficult or even easy conversations, my self-worth is not going to be impacted by the conversation I'm about to have. And so as long as I know that ahead of time, I just have to worry about how I'm able to control my reaction and response to situations, because that's really what's going to make me happy or not for that given day, if that makes sense to you.
Absolutely, it makes sense. It's really interesting. Do you think that a lot of people get defensive because they haven't really developed their sense of self-worth?
So I know that I used to get extremely defensive because I took things so personally that it was like my value as a human being was based on what everyone thought of me in that situation, right? So if I was perceived to be an idiot, I was an idiot. If I was perceived to be stupid or incompetent, then I was stupid or incompetent. And the reality of it is I'm not stupid, incompetent, or a fool. I might have those moments in time, but that's not what defines me as a person. And so I think, I guess the answer to your question is yes. I get defensive when I think I'm being attacked, but it's typically not for the right reasons.
So when you feel as though people are attacking your self-worth, and if you're not really grounded and in touch with your self-worth, then we tend to get defensive and react in a negative way. And then, of course, that behavior leads us to not achieve the outcomes we want. But what you're saying is when you spend time to get grounded in what you're grateful for and you build your sense of self-worth, then you can, when you remind yourself when you go into conversations, hey, no matter what outcome happens here, I know who I am. I know my self-worth, and it's not going to be impacted by whatever happens here. Then it's kind of like you are invincible when you walk into that situation and you're able to be relaxed in the conversation.
That's right. That is exactly right. Right. Happiness and well-being or your spiritual connection is a choice, and it's not something that can be taken away from you. Right? Happiness can be given away, right? I could show up to a meeting, allow someone to not agree with me, and give them my happiness by reacting uh, disproportionately to the event, or I could stay in my space, I could stay in my happiness and truly listen and be present and hear the words that are being said.
Let's use an example, because it's great in theory. Let's say someone is having a fight with their parent, right, or their spouse. Typically, we tend to come from the past. We tend to not be very present in the moment. We tend to hold on to things that they did or we said or they said in the past. So if someone is having a fight with their mom or having a fight with their spouse, how would you coach them to stop being so reactive and get grounded in that gratitude and in that self-worth?
I think for me the most important part of the conversation is trying to remove the noise, right? And so when I argue with my wife, uh, which is frequent because we're married, and I believe that's really the basis of marriage. But when I disagree with my wife, I need to just be present in what is the conversation really about, right? I need to be able to ask myself things like, why am I hurt by what we're talking about? Or what is my side, right? How is this making me feel? And so rather than saying, Kate, who's my wife, I think instead of telling her how she feels or correcting her or immediately defending my position, I could simply say, when I'm playing with our children and I'm going to correct their behavior, it makes me feel bad when you come in and overrule me or tell me I'm doing it wrong. Right? That's typically an argument in a marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's I take it out of the situation. I approach her when we're not in front of the kids, and I'm able to say, "Hey, I just want to talk about something. This is how I felt." The reason it's important that I start that way,
Right. It
is
doesn't sound
because
like like instead of going, you made me feel this way, you're blaming her. But what you just said was, I felt this way in this situation. Now you're just letting her have empathy and get in your shoes, but you're not immediately throwing blame at her.
that's right. And going back to my original comment today, uh, you can only control how you react to a situation. So if you come in and react to a situation on fire, you should expect fire back, right?
Mhm.
But if you show up and I'm not saying show up as a victim or show up passively or submissively. I'm saying own your side. Hey, Kate, I feel this way and I would love to talk about it. Because now you also open her up to an opportunity for her to say, well, I feel this way. And it's not something that happens overnight. I developed this tool, a plan for living, because first you have to become aware of the conversation you're having with yourself, right? Then you could start to correct the conversation you're having with others. And so to this point, right, if you're having difficulty sleeping, people are quick to scoff off and say, oh, well, I don't know why I can't sleep. Well, if you spent 2 minutes and you started to come up with your worries or your fears or your concerns, all of a sudden there's probably a pretty legitimate reason as to why you're not sleeping, right? It could be bills. It could be client projects. It could be the fact that you're arguing with your wife about raising your kids. It could be retirement. It could be your weight. It could be an upcoming doctor's appointment, right? The list goes on, right? And when you start to become aware of these, all of a sudden, at least for myself, I realized I was having things that were short circuiting my temper and they were manifesting themselves in an argument about a completely different topic, right? I'm frustrated my clients won't listen to me. I'm going to yell at my wife for her telling me how I should raise my kids. If you could see that, you start to realize you're having a totally disconnected conversation. But part of the conversation is silent. You're having it without anyone else. And, a better example of that is, and I don't know, I fall victim to this. I'm coming home and I'm literally arguing with my wife over a topic. And let's say I'm arguing with my wife over a vacation that I don't want to go on. And I have this conversation over and over in my head, and I figure out what's she going to say, how she's going to respond, how she's going to react. And then finally I get there and I say, well, I didn't want that vacation anyway. It's stupid. But if you actually had a real conversation and you were aware of how you were feeling, that could de-escalate significantly and improve your overall relationship and your overall functioning.
And
There's
this level of mindfulness, does it come from doing the practices in your app, in a plan for living, such as daily gratitude? Does this mindfulness come of that?
absolutely that is the exact byproduct of gratitude, spirituality, and mindfulness, right? When you're able to take time and be grateful for what you have, I find it takes the edge off of arguments, right? I find it's very difficult to, when I realize how grateful I am for my relationship with my wife and my kids and all of the things I have, now these little bumps in the road, instead of being massive hurdles or brick walls I have to run through, they're now little cracks in the street I simply have to jump over and deal with. If I were to, and so when I create this gratitude daily, it allows me to just, nothing can be taken away. I mean, I can give you a perfect example. Today, a client calls me up and they say, hey, I need to stop our project immediately because of something that's come up in my own life. And in the past, without gratitude or spirituality or a true grounding of myself, I honestly would have lost my mind. I would have immediately gone to, I'm going to be a failure. I'm going to have to shut down my business. I'm going to lose everything. How could I tell my wife I'm an idiot? Everything that floods out would have taken over and clouded my entire day.
Mm-hmm.
And now with gratitude, I was able to be present in the moment with my client and tell him, I'm going to pray for you because I know you're going to be successful. I didn't have to worry about myself because I do the steps and actions every day to know I'll be taken care of. I literally had that conversation, and his response was, how can you be so compassionate in this moment? The only thing I could offer in the most authentic way is I've tried it the other ways and it's really miserable. So if you've ever met somebody while they're down and you just decide that kicking them or choking them or screaming at them or making it about you was going to be the right way out, it's not, right? And my app has allowed me to have this awareness to realize the outcome was done. The outcome was the loss of the project, right? And so now I have two ways to deal with the loss of the project. I could start to lose sleep and ruin my life and ruin everything around my life, or I could pray for him and focus on the next opportunity on my to-do list. Right?
It's so funny that it's like we become arsons. we just
Right.
like let's burn it all to the ground because we took it personally, and then we made it mean all these worst case scenarios, all these, we're feeding into those belief systems, the negative belief systems, versus having that gratitude, and you're grounded in so much of what you have. You know what you have, you know who you are, you know what you are. And then from that place, you can come from mindfulness and compassion, and you really preserve so much more happiness and productivity as a result.
Right. And on a final note to that, not only do you preserve happiness, you preserve energy that would have otherwise been wasted on the past in order to be able to expend it into the future. And so I could have burned all of today's energy trying to undo the past, or instead I prayed for him. It wasn't weighing on me, and I was able to go to a sales call, and I replaced him today. It was literally that fast. And so while I'd love to grow my business and I'd love to tell you it needs to be additive all the time, like you get one client, you get two clients, you get four clients, they grow. Sometimes you get four clients and then you get one and you lose one and you have four clients. But that's okay, right? I don't understand. I've learned over time that nothing happens by accident, and I don't want to spend any more energy or worry on changing the past because it's never served me productively.
And if you had gone down the alternative route when you had that first phone call and you'd exploded and gotten upset, maybe gotten upset at him because, like you said, if you're not really aware of yourself, if you're not correcting the conversation you have with yourself first, then we're in reactive mode. You might have burned a bridge with him and then been so upset that you wouldn't have been able to been fully present for the next sales call, and you would have maybe not landed this client as well. So you would have been really out. So it's interesting that by doing the inner work like you do each day with your app, that you're able to relate to people, create peace and productivity, more happiness. You're able to have empathy and be more present to the opportunities that are coming your way.
That's exactly right.
Enjoy what you heard today on your episode of the Learn True Health podcast. Did something move you, inspire you? Did you get great information that's going to change your life? Awesome. That's exactly what I'm here to do, is to help you gain your health back. Please turn around and share this. If this is something that's helped you in any way, share this with those you love. Love the Learn True Health podcast and want to support us? Awesome. You can go to takeyoursupplements.com and you can support us that way. You'll get access to amazing supplements that are just really great quality for a great price. And there'll be someone on the other end of the line to help you pick out your supplements that are right for you. That's takeyoursupplements.com, or join our membership. LearnTrueHealth.com/join. That's another great way to support our podcast, support our movement, and you'll be supporting yourself. Gain more information, wonderful videos, wonderful trainings, and you'll also be able to share those with those you love as well. So go to LearnTrueHealth.com/join. Want something fun for free? Go to LearnTrueHealth.com, and right there on the front page, you'll see where you can get our free cookbook. I spent a lot of time making it, and it was so much fun. It's really delicious, healthy recipes. And you can also get our 7-day doctor course. Right there, it's 7 days of naturopathic videos sent right to your inbox, and you can learn from top naturopaths on how to gain health naturally. So that's takeyoursupplements.com for wonderful supplements. LearnTrueHealth.com/join to join our awesome membership, which is only open for a limited time. You can get our free healthy cookbook, and you can also get for free 7 days of wonderful naturopathic videos sent to you. Just go to LearnTrueHealth.com and you'll see it right there on the front page. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for sharing and helping others. Let's spread this information and turn this ripple into a tidal wave.